All right, the European door continues for the president. Even when he was with the president of Finland today, the issue of Ukraine and NATO membership came up. NATO countries are kind of divided on all of this. The president himself saying that now is not the time to consider it, as the country is in the middle of that war. Kurt Volker joins us, the former U.S. ambassador to NATO. Kurt, what do you think of this? No right now. That's what the message is, and that it's not wise now. Do you agree?
Right. Well, he keeps saying that, and that's not the question being asked. No one is saying that NATO should take in Ukraine right now. That would mean NATO going to war with Russia. But we are saying, a lot of people are saying, we need to send a signal to Putin that Ukraine will become a member of NATO as soon as it is practical for us to bring them in. This is a way of signaling to Putin that he will never win the war in Ukraine, and at the end of the day, we're going to be securing the future of Europe again, and that there won't be space for future wars in Europe. That's what's missing here. It's not that they join today, it's that we have to signal that tomorrow, whenever that tomorrow is, they will.
But, Ambassador, when you make it so unequivocal that until the war's over, not in so many words, that's not happening, wouldn't that behoove Vladimir Putin to just drag this out?
Right. Yes, I agree with that. And that's why you don't say when the war's over. We don't know what the war being over actually looks like.
Yeah, that's true.
We don't know if the Russian forces are defeated, if there's political change in Moscow, there's just some kind of stable ceasefire on the ground, which is why I think we come up with something that keeps the decision-making in our own hands when it's practical. That's for us to decide, not when Russia decides that it's giving up.
Do you think Vladimir Putin needs a few more food testers just in case? I mean, that his own security is in doubt.
I think he's got to be worried. This Prigozhin revolt that took place a couple of weeks ago really exposed a lot of weakness in the regime. Not just the fact that Prigozhin was able to lead a military force into Russia and take over 2 cities and the military bases there. It's that he had a lot of support from the military and from the public as well. And this is now a conundrum for Putin. His instinct, I'm sure, is to kill Prigozhin, yet at the same time, that could spark a bigger blowback.
Right.
And he actually ended up meeting with him at the Kremlin, which is very strange after the guy leads a rebellion to then meet together. And I think Putin is trying to figure out ways in order to show that he is fully in control again.
All right. Well, watch what happens. Ambassador, always an honor. Thank you very much.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks.